your eyes for a moment. I want you to consider a radical thought: your personality creates your personal reality. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phone, checking their emails, their social media, and their problems. In that single moment, are reframing a past identity. They are plugging into a predictable future based on a known past. But if you want to change your life, you have to quite literally lose your mind and create a new one. It tells you that meditation is about relaxing or humping the thoughts. That's a surface level understanding. Science now shows us that the real reason meditation works is far more profound. It is the biological process of crossing the river of change. To truly understand why the act of sitting still is the most transformative thing you can do for your biology, you have to first confront the reality of how you have been living. People wake up in the morning and their brain immediately begins to scan the environment for familiar problems. These problems are essentially memories that are etched into the neural architecture of the brain. Each one of those memories is connected to a person, a place, a thing, or a time. The moment you start thinking about those problems, you are thinking in the past, because every one of those memories has an associated emotion, whether it's the stress of a deadline, resentment toward a partner, or the fear of a financial situation. The moment you feel that emotion, your body is literally being catapulted into the past. This is because the body is the unconscious mind, not know the difference between an actual experience that is creating an emotion and an emotion that you are creating by thought alone. To the body, it is experiencing that stressful event right now, even if you are just lying in your bed in the dark. This creates a loop. Your thoughts produce chemicals that make you feel exactly the way you were thinking, and then you begin to think the way you feel, which produces more of those chemicals. This cycle eventually creates a state of being. By the time most of us are 35 years old, we have become a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, and conditioned responses that function like a computer program. We are essentially on autopilot. Autopilot is rooted in a past identity. This is what it means to be a habit of yourself. Breaking this habit is the fundamental mechanism behind why meditation actually works from a biological and neurological perspective. When you sit down to meditate, first thing that happens is a confrontation. You tell your body to sit still, to stay put, and to be the servant rather than the master. But the body has been the master for decades. It has been used to being fed a steady diet of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. It's addicted to the rush of those chemicals because they make it feel alive, even if they are slowly destroying the physical systems. So you close your eyes and disconnect from the external world. The body starts sending signals to the brain. It says, why are we sitting here? You have emails to answer. You're being unproductive. You should be angry about what happened yesterday. The body is trying to pull you back into that predictable chemical past because it feels safe there. It is the known. Even if the known is miserable, the body prefers it to the unknown. Driver of change. To cross it, you have to become greater than your body, greater than your environment, and greater than time itself. Every time you notice your mind wandering to a future worry or past regret, consciously catch yourself and bring your attention back to the present moment. You are executing a victory. You are telling the body that it is no longer the mind. You are pruning the old neural connections that kept you shackled to your old personality. Every time you settle the body back down into the present, you are reconditioning it to a new mind. This is an act of neuroplasticity in its purest form. You are literally unwiring the old self. Science shows us that when we stop the constant stimulation of our environment, the sights, the sounds, the people we have to react to, we stop the analytical mind from being in a state of high beta frequency. Analytical mind is the barrier that separates the conscious mind from the subconscious. By breaking the habit of reacting to the world, we lower that barrier. We start to access the operating system where the true change happens. If you want to change your life, you cannot do it as the same person who created the problems in the first place. You have to literally lose your mind to create a new one. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a physiological necessity. You are changing the very chemistry of your blood and the firing patterns of your neurons. You are moving from a state of survival where you are constantly reacting to the threats of your daily life to a state of creation. In survival, you are always trying to predict the future based on the past to ensure you stay safe. In creation, you are defined by a vision of the future that hasn't happened yet. By breaking the habit of the old self, you clear the space for a new consciousness to emerge, one that is not dependent on the external world for its happiness or its peace. You become the creator of your reality rather than the victim of it. To truly understand the profound shift that occurs during deep meditation at the internal electrical landscape of the brain, most of our lives are spent in what we call beta brainwave patterns. This is the state of active, alert consciousness where we are processing information, judging our environment, navigating the complexity of the physical world. However, when we are under stress, that beta state moves into high beta, which is a highly disorganized, scattered, and incoherent frequency. In high beta, the brain is essentially firing like a lightning storm in a dozen different directions. We are overthinking, overanalyzing, and overreacting. We are trying to control and predict everything in our lives, and this creates a massive amount of internal noise. Incoherence is the antithesis of healing. It is a state of emergency that drains the body of the energy it needs for repair and regeneration. The real science of meditation works because it provides a mechanism to downshift the gears of the brain, moving from that chaotic high beta state into the more orderly rhythmic patterns of alpha and theta frequencies. As you close your eyes and begin to withdraw your attention from the people you know, the places you go, and the things you have to do, you start to quiet the sensory input that keeps the brain in that state of high alert. When you stop to focusing on the what and the where, and you start to focus on the no thing and the space, your brain waves naturally begin to slow down. You move into alpha, the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious mind. In alpha, the two hemispheres of the brain begin to communicate with more harmony. The front of the brain starts talking to the back of the brain. The right hemisphere starts to synchronize with the left. This is what we call brainwave coherence. It is a state of holistic integration. When the brain is coherent, you are coherent. Your thoughts become more organized, your focus becomes sharper. The internal chatter that usually dominates your experience begins to fade into the background. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are beginning to enter the operating system of your own biology. As you go deeper into the practice, you may even reach the theta state. This is a very profound territory. It is the twilight state between wakefulness and sleep. In theta, the body is deeply relaxed, but the mind is conscious and awake. Where the magic happens, because the barrier of the analytical mind has been completely lowered, when you are in theta, you are no longer the identity that you have been carrying around. You are not your name, your past, or your social status. You have entered the realm of the subconscious, where 95% of who we are resides. This is the place where your deep-seated beliefs, your autonomic nervous system, and your biological programs live. By reaching this frequency, you gain the ability to rewrite the scripts of your life. You are no longer trying to change a habit using your willpower, which is an uphill battle of the conscious mind against the body, instead planting seeds of change directly into the fertile soil of the subconscious. The beauty of this process is that it is measurable. We can see on an electroencephalogram how the brain transforms from a state of fragmentation to a state of wholeness. When the brainwaves become rhythmic and synchronized, it signals the autonomic nervous system to move out of the fight or flight sympathetic mode and into the rest and digest parasympathetic mode. Shift is vital because the body cannot heal when it is in a state of survival. By inducing these slower, more coherent brainwave states, you are literally giving your body permission to begin the work of cellular repair, hormonal balance, immune system enhancement. You are moving from a state of entropy, where energy is being wasted and things are breaking down, to a state of syntropy, where energy is being organized and life is being built back up. This isn't just a psychological feeling of relaxation. It is a profound physiological restructuring. You are changing the very rhythm of your existence. You are learning how to tune your brain to a different frequency, one that is aligned with order, health, and higher consciousness. When you master the ability to change your brain waves at will, you master the ability to change your internal chemistry, because the brain is the conductor of the entire biological orchestra. Every thought you think and every frequency you inhabit sends a message to every cell in your body. And by creating coherence in the brain, you are sending a message of peace, strength, and infinite potential to your entire being. To truly comprehend the shift from a life of survival to a life of creation, we must look at the most powerful generator of magnetic energy in the human body, which is the heart. Most people believe the brain is the sole command center of our existence. Science now reveals that the heart possesses its own complex intrinsic nervous system, often referred to as the little brain in the heart. This center of intelligence is capable of sensing, feeling, and even remembering independently of the cranial brain. However, for most of our lives, we live in a state of protection. When we are frustrated, impatient, or fearful, our heart rhythm becomes jagged and irregular. This is what we call heart incoherence. This jagged rhythm signals the brain that a threat is present, activating the amygdala and shifting the body into a state of emergency. In this state, we are disconnected. We feel separate from the world around us, and our energy is focused entirely on the external environment to ensure our survival. Real secret transformation lies in the deliberate cultivation of heart-brain coherence, which is the alignment of these two massive processing centers into a singular unified signal. When you sit down to meditate and you intentionally shift your attention away from your problems and toward the center of your chest, you begin to change your internal weather. By breathing into the heart and consciously summoning elevated emotions like gratitude, appreciation, care, or compassion, you begin to create a rhythmic, coherent pattern in your heart rate variability. This is not a fluffy New Age concept, it is a measurable physiological event. As the heart begins to beat in a consistent wave like rhythm, sends a powerful signal through the vagus nerve up to the brain. This signal tells the brain that it is safe to create, safe to heal, and safe to open up to new possibilities. The heart in this state acts as an amplifier, begins to produce a magnetic field that can extend up to several feet outside of the body. You are essentially turning into a living magnet. While the brain is the electrical charge sending the thought out into the quantum field, the heart is the magnetic charge, which is the power that draws the experience back to you. When the heart and the brain are in coherence, they are no longer working at cross purposes. Usually, the brain wants one thing while the body, driven by the heart's old emotional patterns, wants another. Internal conflict is what keeps people stuck in the same cycles of behavior. But when you marry a clear intention, a thought of a new future, with an elevated emotion of the heart, you are signaling the body that the future event has already happened. This is a crucial point of understanding the body is so objective that it does not know the difference between an emotion created by an external experience and one created by internal focus. If you can sit in the silence and feel the gratitude of a healed body or a successful life before it has physically manifested, you are literally changing your biology to match the future instead of the past. You are signaling new genes in new ways. You are moving from the old Newtonian model of cause and effect, where you wait for something outside of you to change so you can feel better inside, to the quantum model of causing an effect. State of heart-brain coherence has a profound impact on the immune system and the body's overall chemistry. Studies have shown that when individuals spend just 10 to 15 minutes a day practicing this heart-centered focus, they significantly increase their levels of immunoglobulin A, the body's primary defense against viruses and bacteria. You are essentially manufacturing your own internal medicine. Furthermore, this state of coherence reduces the production of cortisol, stress hormone that wears down your organs and accelerates aging. Instead of being a victim of your environment, reacting to every person and circumstance that drains your energy, you become a source of energy. You begin to broadcast a frequency that is orderly and harmonious. This is why meditation works so effectively for physical healing. You are providing the body with the energetic blueprint of order, and the cells have no choice but to follow that lead. You are no longer living in the limited state of somebody trying to get somewhere. You are becoming a pure consciousness that is tapped into a higher intelligence. When the heart opens, the veil between the conscious and the subconscious thins. You gain access to a level of intuition and creativity that is inaccessible when you are in a state of survival. You start to see life not through the lens of lack or competition, but through the lens of abundance and connection. The biological signature of wholeness, and it is available to anyone who is willing to do the work of mastering their internal state. For the longest time, we were taught to believe that we are the victims of our genetic inheritance. Blueprints handed down by our ancestors were a final verdict on our health, our longevity, and our temperament. This old model of thinking suggests that if there is a history of certain conditions or personality traits in your lineage, you are essentially a passenger on a train with a predetermined destination. But the burgeoning science of epigenetics has completely shattered this myth, revealing that you are actually the master of your genetic expression. Word epigenetics literally means above the gene, and it refers to the fact that while the DNA sequence remains the same, the way those genes are expressed, whether they are turned on or off, is determined by the environment. More importantly, determined by your internal environment. When you engage in the deep, intentional practice of meditation, you are not just relaxing your mind, you are changing the chemical soup that your cells are swimming in. You are sending a new signal to the very core of your biological being. Every time you have a thought, you make a chemical. If you have great thoughts or thoughts of unlimited potential, you make chemicals that make you feel great or unlimited. If you have negative thoughts or thoughts of insecurity, you make chemicals that make you feel exactly the way you are thinking. Those chemicals are the signals that go to the cell membrane. Cell membrane is like a little chip that interprets the information from the environment. When those chemicals reach the cell, they trigger a series of reactions that ultimately reach the nucleus of the cell, where the DNA is stored. Gene is then translated into a protein. These proteins are the building blocks of life. They are responsible for the structure and function of your body. If you are constantly living in a state of stress, reacting to the same people and the same problems, you are signaling the same genes in the same way, and the body begins to down-regulate those genes, leading to the expression of disease or imbalance. You are quite literally wearing out the machinery of your life because you are stuck in a repetitive chemical cycle of the past. The real power of meditation is that it allows you to step out of that cycle. When you disconnect from the external world and enter a state of internal coherence, you stop the production of those stress-induced chemicals. As you begin to cultivate elevated emotions, states like joy, inspiration, and profound peace, manufacturing a completely different chemical profile. You are signaling the cell to express new proteins and to repair the damage caused by years of living in survival mode. Science has shown that in a very short period of time, people who practice this kind of internal change can up-regulate genes for physical healing, for the strengthening of the immune system, and for the production of antioxidants that combat aging. You are essentially reaching in the library of your DNA and pulling out a different book to read. You are no longer defined by your family history. You are defined by the frequency you are choosing to inhabit in the present moment. The most remarkable discoveries in this field involves telomeres, which are the protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes. Think of them like the plastic tips on shoelaces that keep them from fraying. Every time a cell divides, telomeres get a little bit shorter. When they get too short, the cell can no longer function properly, which is the hallmark of aging and biological decay. However, research into effects of long-term meditation and emotional regulation has shown that we can actually increase the activity of telomerase, the enzyme responsible for lengthening these caps. This means that by changing your state of being, you are not just feeling better psychologically, you are actually slowing down or even reversing the biological clock. You are telling your body that it is safe to grow, to repair, and to thrive. This is the ultimate empowerment. That no matter what your past has been, and no matter what your current physical condition might be, you have the biological equipment to initiate a change from the inside out. You are the scientist in the laboratory of your own life. Your thoughts and feelings are the variables you are manipulating. When you sit in that stillness and you intentionally signal your body with a new emotional state, you are participating in the most sophisticated form of self-engineering. You are proving that the mind is the master of matter. By the time you open your eyes and return to your world, you are no longer the same person who sat down. Your cells are firing differently. Your genes are expressing differently. Energy is vibrating at a higher frequency. You have moved from a state of being programmed by your circumstances to being the programmer of your own destiny. You are no longer waiting for a miracle to happen. You are becoming the miracle through the conscious application of biological laws. To step into the true power of meditation, we must venture beyond the world of the senses and enter the realm of the quantum field. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that reality is defined by what we can see, touch, taste, smell, and hear. We are taught that if we want to change something in our lives, we have to use our bodies to do something in the physical world. The Newtonian model of reality, the world of predictable results of space and time and a matter trying to change matter. In this model, you are somebody occupying a physical body, living in a specific place at a specific time, dealing with specific problems. But the quantum model of reality tells a different story. It suggests that all physical matter is actually made up of 99.99999% energy and information. This means that the world you see around you is not solid, is an infinite field of frequency and potential. When you sit down and meditate, your goal is to leave the three-dimensional reality of the senses and become pure consciousness in that infinite field of possibility. To enter this field, you have to become no body, no thing, nowhere, at no time. This sounds abstract, but it is a biological necessity for transformation. As long as you are identified with your physical body, you are bound by its limitations. As long as you are identified with your name, your profession, and your past, you are shackled to the personality that created your current life. As long as you are focused on the objects in your room or the time on the clock, you are trapped in the predictable laws of the material world. The moment you take your attention off of everything material, you become a speck of awareness in a vast void of nothingness, which is actually a field of everythingness. This is the place where all potentials exist as electromagnetic frequencies. Every possible version of your life, every version of your health, your wealth, and your relationships already exists in the quantum field as a frequency. Reason meditation works on this level is because you cannot enter the quantum field as a somebody. You have to leave your identity at the door. When you become pure consciousness, you are no longer trying to get something from the outside world. Instead, you are tuning your internal frequency to match a possibility that already exists. Think of it like a radio. If you want to hear a specific station, you have to turn the dial until your receiver matches the frequency of the broadcast. You don't have to create the music. The music is already being broadcast. You just have to be a match for it. In the same way, the healed version of you is already a frequency in the quantum field. Abundant version of you is already a frequency. You sit in the stillness of the void and you begin to feel the emotions of that future reality before it happens. You are tuning your energy to that specific frequency. In this state of thingness, you are no longer separate from the field. You are the field, and because the field is the very fabric that governs the material world, when you change your energy in the field, the material world must eventually reorganize itself to match your new state of being. Is how people experience miraculous healings or sudden unexplainable shifts in their external circumstances. They didn't go out and do something to make it happen. They became a frequency match for it in the quantum. Requires a profound level of trust and a surrender of the analytical mind. The analytical mind wants to know how it will happen, and it will happen. But how and when are functions of the three-dimensional world of time and space. Quantum field, there is only the eternal now. When you are truly in the field, you lose track of time. You might feel like you've been sitting for 10 minutes when it has actually been an hour. That is the sign that you have transitioned from the world of matter to the world of energy. This is the bridge between science and spirituality. Science calls it the unified field. Others might call it the divine or the source. Regardless of the name, a field of intelligence is both within us and all around us. When you align your individual consciousness with this greater intelligence, you are no longer working alone. You are tapping into a power that knows how to knit a bone back together, balance your hormones, and how to create synchronicity in your life. You are moving from the limited power of the human ego to the unlimited power of the quantum observer. By staying in that space of pure potential, are effectively collapsing the wave of possibility into a new particle of reality. You are not just a victim of your life anymore. You are a conscious creator using the laws of physics to design a new destiny. You are proving that you don't have to go anywhere to find the truth, because the entire universe of information is accessible the moment you become still enough to hear it. To understand the mechanism of transformation, look at the way the brain physically restructures itself in response to new information and new experience, a process we call neuroplasticity. For the vast majority of people, the brain is a record of the past, an artifact of everything they have learned and experienced up to this point in their lives. Most people wake up and perform a series of routine actions, getting out of bed on the same side, brushing their teeth with the same hand, drinking coffee from the same mug, and driving to work using the same route. These repetitive actions become hardwired into the brain as a set of automatic programs. Because you are doing the same things every day, you are thinking the same thoughts. Thoughts are firing and wiring the same neural circuits. By the time you reach midlife, your brain is essentially a collection of well-worn grooves, and it becomes very difficult to think outside of those established pathways. This is why change feels so uncomfortable. You are literally trying to go against the physical hardware of your own mind. When you engage in the practice of meditation with the intention of creating a new life, you are acting as a neuroarchitect. You are using the power of conscious thought to override the automatic pilot. Every time you have a new thought, you create a new synaptic connection. If you can maintain that thought and marry it with a powerful intention, those neurons begin to fire in tandem. A fundamental principle in neuroscience, neurons that fire together wire together. When you sit in your meditation and you begin to mentally rehearse a new way of being, imagining yourself as more confident, more patient, or more vital, you are causing your brain to fire in new sequences, new patterns, and new combinations. The brain does not know the difference between the actual physical experience and the experience you are visualizing with high emotional intensity. To the brain, event is already happening. This means you are installing the neurological hardware in your brain to look as if the experience has already occurred. This mental rehearsal is a form of priming the system. If you do it enough times, the hardware becomes a software program. You start to think differently, act differently, and feel differently because you have physically changed the structure of your brain. You are no longer just a victim of your past conditioning. You are actively selecting a new future by wiring it into your nervous system. But this process requires more than just a passing thought. It requires you to sustain a state of being that is independent of your environment. People are environmental philosophers. They feel good when things go well and bad when things go poorly. Their internal state is a direct reflection of their external world. To change your life, you have to be greater than your environment. You have to be to maintain your new neural wiring even when the world around you hasn't changed yet. This is the hallmark of true mastery. You are preconditioning your body and mind for a future that exists only in your consciousness, and by doing so, are making that future a physical reality. As you continue to fire and wire these new pathways, you begin to prune away the old ones. The brain is a highly efficient organ. If you stop using the old circuits of resentment, fear, or lack, the brain will eventually disconnect those synapses to save energy. This is how you lose your mind. You are literally letting the old personality die so that a new one can be born. This is why meditation is not just a passive activity, a highly active biological process of self-evolution. You are moving from a state of living in the past to living in the future. The neuroplasticity of the human brain is perhaps our greatest gift because it means we are never stuck. We are never finished. We are always in a state of becoming. When you master your attention and learn to direct your energy toward a specific vision, you are utilizing the most sophisticated technology in the known universe, your own nervous system, to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You are not just changing your thoughts, you are changing the very fabric of your biological identity, ensuring that your brain is no longer a map of the past, a blueprint for a future of your own design. To truly master the art of transformation, one must eventually move beyond the analytical mind and the mechanical processes of neuroplasticity to understand the ultimate state of being, which is the state of gratitude. In our traditional three-dimensional model of reality, we have been conditioned to live a life of cause and effect. We wait for the wealth to come so that we can finally feel abundant. We wait for the relationship to arrive so that we can finally feel loved. We wait for the physical healing to manifest so that we can finally feel whole and thankful. This is a state of lack, where we are constantly looking outside of ourselves for something to take away the internal feelings of emptiness or separation. When you live this way, you are essentially a victim of your circumstances, waiting for the world to change so that you can change the way you feel. However, the real science behind why meditation works is that it teaches you to flip this model on its head. It teaches you to cause an effect by inhabiting the emotion of gratitude before the physical event has even occurred. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When you are grateful, it means that something good has already happened to you, or that something wonderful is currently occurring. In that moment of profound thankfulness, the body, which is the unconscious mind, is receiving a chemical signal that the event is a present reality. When you sit in the silence of your meditation and you move into a state of deep, heartfelt gratitude, you are signaling your nervous system and your genes that you are already in possession of your desired future. This is the bridge between the quantum field and the physical world. By feeling the emotion of the future now, you are no longer wanting. Because wanting implies that you do not have it. Instead, you are having. You are vibrating at the same frequency as your new reality, and when your internal frequency matches the frequency of a potential in the quantum field, that reality begins to find you. You don't have to go anywhere to find your success or your healing. Drawn to you because you are the magnetic source. This emotional signature of gratitude has a staggering impact on our internal chemistry. When you are in a state of survival dominated by stress hormones, your body is in a state of protection and emergency, consuming all its energy to survive the perceived threat, leaving nothing for repair or growth. But when you shift into gratitude, you move out of survival and into a state of creation. Your body begins to produce an entirely different set of chemicals, neuropeptides that signal the immune system to strengthen and the heart to open. You are essentially telling your body that the danger is over and that the harvest has arrived. This state of wholeness is where true healing begins, not just of the body, mind, and the spirit. You are no longer divided by the gap between where you are and where you want to be. You have closed that gap through the power of your own emotional state. is why gratitude is often called the most powerful medicine we have access to. It is the physical evidence that we have stepped out of the past and into a new timeline. As you practice this daily, you start to develop a different relationship with the world around you. Instead of reacting to the environment, you start to see the environment as a reflection of your internal state. Begin to notice synchronicities and coincidences that align with your new vision. These are the signs from the quantum field that you are on the right track. When you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is reach for that feeling of gratitude before it had your coffee, even before you've checked your phone, you are setting the tone for your entire day. You are choosing to be defined by your future rather than your past. You are deciding that your internal state is more real than the external world. This level of emotional mastery is the key to a life of unlimited potential. It requires discipline and a willingness to surrender the old familiar feelings of suffering or unworthiness. The reward is the total reclamation of your power as a creator. You are no longer a person who is trying to meditate. You are a person who's living as a new consciousness. You are walking through the world as a different biological entity, one that is tuned to the frequency of appreciation and awe. This is the real reason meditation works. It isn't just a mental exercise to calm the nerves, but a profound biological and energetic initiation into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. By sustaining this state of gratitude, you become a living example of the truth that we are not limited by our biology, but rather enabled by it when we learn to direct our energy with intention and heart.